Hello, my name is John, and I'm a nerd. I just had the great fortune of being able to interview somebody I have kind of admired for a while, and that is Richard Cumley. He is co-creator of Captain Canuck and self-published it to begin with under the company name Cumley Comics. He is now still involved with Captain Canuck. So I had the opportunity to talk to him online and have a little conversation and ask him some questions that I've always kind of wanted to know. Some of it I'd read some places, but still, it was really nice to get it directly from him. And he's a super nice guy, and I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope I wasn't too obnoxious to him. All right, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and begin that interview.
First of all, thank you very much for
You're very welcome.
coming and doing this with me. I appreciate it very much. And I wanted to get started, if you don't mind, by kind of going back in time a little bit
Sure.
and talking about, did you read comic books when you were younger at all?
Not real ardent, a comic book reader. I just, I remember picking up the odd comic book when I was at someone else's place. I just don't remember buying comic books until I, started working on Captain Canuck. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't that I never read them or I just wasn't that ardent a reader until then.
Yeah. Did you read prose, like regular novels and so forth? Were you into reading?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a real avid reader, but I read some books. I had some favorites. Jean Valjean, which is, is a title of Les Miserables. The story. Right. That was a favorite. Animal Farm was a big favorite with me when I was a kid. What's the other one where the kids are on the island? That was a big favorite with me. What the heck
Lord
is
of the
that
Flies?
one? Lord of the Flies. That was a big favorite. Just kind of stuff like that. So.
Okay, so you had basically an idea of how comic books worked when you got started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did Ron Leishman come into the picture? Where did you meet him?
Well, I met him at church. And it was something like either late 1971 or early 1972. I'm just not 100% clear on when I actually met him. But the funny thing was, so I was a new member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and Ron was already a member. And I saw him, actually, I took the first term of advertising art at Red River College in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And I actually saw him in the hall there. He was a year ahead of me. He didn't finish the course either, actually. I only took one term of it, but I remember seeing him there. And then so I saw him at church, and I said, I've seen this guy before, kind of thing. We became pretty quick friends, and we would get together, and it was really Ron who planted the seed to do Captain Canuck.
Yeah.
One of the first times I met him, he said, there should be a Canadian superhero. There should be a comic book series. We should have our own superhero kind of thing. And I said, yeah, so he really, that's why I consider him the co-creator.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done this without him.
Yeah. I was very interested how that conversation got started, so I appreciate you telling me that.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you form relationships and how things grow from them. Yeah. And then out of that meeting with Ron, we got Captain Canuck.
Well, it was more than one meeting. I think if it would have been just one meeting where we discussed it, nothing would have happened. You know what I mean? And and it's been said, somebody could have said that to me walking through the park kind of thing, what I mean? But it didn't, and I'm sure lots of people heard said, and I had fans come up to me and say, I thought of doing this too way back then, but meeting with Ron and talking about it, and every time we got together, well, maybe not every single time, but often when we got together, we talked about this. And so I started to get serious about it in 1973. So at least a year and a half later is when I really started to, at this time, Ron was out west and up north. He was working in the oil industry to save money to serve a mission. Mm-hmm. And we stayed in touch all the time, letters, and every now and then he'd be back in Winnipeg. And so he left around the time that I started seriously working on it. Yeah. So by 74, I had gotten a loan. Well, basically my parents had co-signed so that I could get my hands on $7,000, which was a lot of money back in 1975. Yeah. Getting the printer, getting a printer who would give me credit, extend credit, getting distribution, getting a distributor. And then I had to learn a lot of stuff too, like how am I going to make this thing work financially? All of that stuff. And the other big thing was that's when I really started to look at comic books. And not just look at them as a casual reader, but wanted to see how different artists made it work.
Yeah, the function of them and the logic of them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. And I remember I was pretty young at the time. I think I was about 10 or 11 when I first discovered Captain Canuck. And that number one, there were some interesting ways that you did the images. Like some of them were actually photographs that were over printed. What prompted that? I thought it was really fascinating and I liked it, but I was just wondering what prompted that idea.
I think part of it was, hey, I could use a photograph which would look cool and not have to do so much drawing. And I really think that was part of
This was the moment where, due to my inexperience, we lost contact. My time ended. We had to reconnect, which we ended up doing. So we will continue with that interview. I just wanted to mention that what we missed here, among other things, I can't remember all the details, but one of the things we missed was an amazing story he told. When I asked him if he had grown up in Ontario, his parents came from England because they wanted to, and they settled in Manitoba because they wanted to become farmers. That was the purpose for them to be there. He also told a story about one of his relatives that was a POW. He was returned in one of the Red Cross exchanges. That's how he got back to Canada. Well, that little story poorly told, we will move on with the rest of the interview.
When he came back, he's my height, okay? Just to give you an idea of he was my height, and when he got back to England, he weighed 85 pounds. I'm 5'9". Okay, I weigh 160, and he was almost half of what I weigh. He would have looked a bit scary.
Yeah, I imagine he looked like death.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah, I have my grandfather was the topic of an article written in 1948 in a farmer's publication in England. And he talks about his experience becoming a new farmer and what he did. And he was fairly successful. And he mentions his son coming back to work and that they had to fatten him up a little bit. So
yeah, imagine.
It was very casual the way they talked about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you got to handle it somehow, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but I actually met you in 2018 at the first Tri-City Supercon.
Yes.
I did. I was very disappointed.
I know. That's why you look so familiar.
Yeah, I talked to your wife a bit, and I hung out with, okay, why can't I think of his name? I'm terrible with names. The letterer.
Andrew Thomas.
Too. Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, I had one son there, Yeah, just
Well, I
one of
did
my
see him, and I talked to him as well.
Christian.
Yeah, I met him. But you were so busy, I didn't want to.
Oh, John, that we did two of them, and oh my goodness, the stress. And we lost money on both of them, by the way. So
oh man, that's too bad.
And it was pretty stressful, the whole experience. And
well, I have to say, I loved it. I had the greatest time being there that time. I wasn't able to make it to the second one, but the first one, I loved it. I enjoyed meeting all the different people and getting to talk to the artists about what their inspirations are and so forth. So actually, talking about inspirations, I was wondering what process brought you to create the different characters and the storyline of the first Captain Canuck?
Well, putting the story together for me at the time was the hardest part. It was, the part that I was most apprehensive about.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of things I had to do. One of the things where I spent too much time was trying to sell ad space in the comic book, because I'm looking for ways to generate income to make this all financially. And I could have spent that time, as I realized afterwards, much more productively doing other things. But so eventually, latter part of 1974 is when I seriously started working on the comic book. And where did the characters come from? I don't know. You know what I mean?
You just needed somebody to do something.
Yeah. You're desperate enough. You're at the point now, I gotta do this. So the brain just says, okay, come on, just come up with something.
Was Blue Fox a turncoat from the beginning?
Yeah, he was. So he was he was a turncoat from the beginning, and he's mentioned. There's not much of him in the first few issues, and then I just kind of let it slide. I just moved on. Yeah, it just moved on, and of course, what they've done with Blue Coat now made it a female, made her, a fairly interesting character.
Well,
they turned a few characters into females. Yeah,
I did a little thing on the video talking about that, and talking about how the overall story arc of the new Captain Canuck very much mirrors the overall story arc of the original Captain Canuck. Did you know they were going to do that?
No. I don't know if they knew.
Oh, really?
Well,
it was just fascinating to me how much it just paralleled.
Yeah, I know.
The story, some images almost exact, like the polar bear fight.
Yeah. Kalman, I don't think I have commended Kalman enough for his work. His art was great. I thought there were things about his writing that, I wasn't that crazy about, but overall it was good.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
The characters are so well fleshed out.
Yeah.
In this series. And I also mentioned that in 1970s, that wasn't the way comic books were written.
No.
They were much simpler. You didn't get as involved. I mean, some of them did, but overall, it was more just a quick, fast story to get you interested in some cool art.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Characters like Deathlock, I remember him coming in out, and there was a little more background on, why he was the way he was. I don't even remember what the storyline was, but something like brought him back to life, and it's sort of like $6 Million Man kind of thing,
Right.
But I just remember it coming out around the time that I was doing Captain Canuck, and thought, hey, this looks different. You know what I mean? It just and I didn't start following it in a big way, but it certainly caught my eye back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you. I wrote some notes down so I wouldn't get lost, because I didn't know how starstruck I would be.
Oh, brother, yeah.
And I have to say about Kalman Andrzejewski, and forgive me if I slaughtered the name, but
we all do.
I love his art. He's one of my favorite artists since I started seeing what he's been doing with Captain Canuck.
Yeah.
I know he's done art for other, like Marvel. He's done some covers for, I think.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly what he's done for Marvel but yeah, no, he's been around a while. He's definitely a good artist, good writer. Yeah, he's got it.
Tell you, it's I have been enjoying Captain Canucks, like I said, since he first came out, just about. So
yeah,
long time fan of that. Are you still involved with Captain Canuck in the creative way, or is that pretty much under the Comic House group?
No,
from the Lev Gleason's website. They released this, I think, just this past year.
I mean, I'm involved nowhere near like I was when I was actually producing it.
Right.
Fatty Hakim is he's driving the bus, as he likes to point out to me. Somebody's got to drive the bus, and it's got to be me. No, I mean, I first got in he contacted me, I believe it was late 2009. And then by 2013 is when we signed an agreement to basically for me to license the rights to him. And yeah, so, I haven't, we butted heads a few times on different things, on different issues. And maybe we will in the future too, but he's become a friend, and I appreciate his passion and his smarts, and so yeah, he's basically driving the bus. But what I'm doing now is, for example, I'm adding a chapter to Captain Canuck number 16. There was a number 15.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing we're going to do, I'll hold this up here. This was the Reborn Series. So the Reborn Series we're going to put together as a book. So this is 0, 0 to, this is a newsstand number 1. And then number 4 is this one here. So these 4 issues are going to be put together into a book with some added features. So cool. But there's a lot of it has to be recolored, and I haven't even hardly put a dent into that, because I'm going to end up doing a fair bit of the coloring on it as well, and the original art is all now owned by the National Archives. So if I want to access the original art, I literally have to drive there and take my own scanner, to scan it there too. So,
you have to scan it there?
And scan it. I have to scan it in the building. Yeah, they're very nice. They're great people. They really are accommodating. But it's much easier for me to go there, because to tell them what I want, and they will find stuff and scan it for me at a price, at a kind of a steep price in my opinion. But I'm never sure exactly what to tell them, and there's always stuff that I don't mention that I said, oh, I need that too, and then so and I need to, a lot of it I need to look at it to say, okay, we need this and this, because I've already got that, we don't need that kind of thing. So so I've been there a few times. It's a really unique building in Gatineau, which is just over the river. It's actually in Quebec, but the province of Quebec.
I was in Quebec for 2 hours once.
Oh, where are you again? Where are you again?
I'm living in New Hampshire right now, but I
grew up in New Hampshire.
I grew up in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
And I mean, until I was an adult, and I moved here in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
Basically because there was no work. I couldn't get a job anywhere there because it was too many people and not enough jobs.
Yeah.
So I knew where my sister was living in New Hampshire, so I knew I could get a job there. Yeah. So I moved to New Hampshire, and I've been here. Well, I lived in Florida for a year, but I couldn't deal with that. So
the heat.
Yeah, the heat and no
Yeah.
snow in the winter. Christmas with no snow. I mean, that was not
Yeah,
my
I know.
idea. That's not my idea. Oh, notice my shirt.
Yeah.
That's the Captain Canuck one.
Okay. All right. Now, so interesting that you're in New Hampshire. There is a Comic-Con there. It's called the Granite State. It's happening in September. Is it what's the city? No,
Manchester or Concord?
Where are you in New Hampshire?
I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
But it's kind of like way off the beaten track.
Okay.
But Manchester.
Oh, it sounds lovely. I mean, what you're describing sounds lovely to me.
It's my preference. I don't like to be in the middle of town. I see those high rises in Boston, and I'm like, how could anybody live like that? I couldn't.
Yeah. Boston's a pretty nice city, mind you, but I know what you mean. I know what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about Jay Baruchel.
Yep.
Because he came in and was involved. How did he manage to get connected with this anyway? I was just curious.
Yeah, well, apparently Jay was a big Captain Canuck fan, and I think he was born in Quebec. He's Anglophone, and I believe he's there now in Montreal. But he's had a fairly good career in movies and TV, etc.
Yeah,
and he's a very personable guy. I enjoyed spending time with him.
Yeah, I actually met him and shook his hand for a long time at that same convention.
Yeah,
2018.
Yeah,
I was trying to get my wife to take a picture, and she was having trouble with the camera, so I was standing there holding his hand for a minute or two. I just told him I just came so I could hold your hand.
Yeah. He's a friendly guy and a funny guy, and which one day Fatty says, I need you to meet this guy by the name of Jay Baruchel, and he's an actor, and he really, really wants to be involved in the company and in producing Captain Canuck. And so I went. There was a production studio right in Toronto. Fatty drove me there, and I got out, and he was. They were shooting a TV series. Man Meets Woman. No, I can't remember the title of it. I think it only went for a couple of seasons. And
it's not ringing any bells with me.
Yeah, I just can't quite remember the title of it. It was something like Man Meets Woman or something, and it was a comedy. Yeah. And so I met him there for the first time. I wasn't aware of who he was, and he was so passionate. Like, I'm sitting there, and he's like almost pleading to be involved. Like, okay, all right. And so, anyways, he became an investor, and part of the deal was he also became chief creative officer. Yeah. So
is he still involved in that capacity?
He's still involved. I mean, he still sort of holds title, but he's been so busy with so many other projects that he's done some writing. He did some writing, as you may be aware. He wrote some issues.
The Year One series. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, so he did that writing, and then and it seemed that one of the reasons he did that writing is he also wanted to write for DC, and that was kind of his calling card to DC to write for them, and he did write a script for an animated feature, which ended up, just nothing happening with it.
That was another thing I wanted to ask you about. I know before COVID hit, there was that animated feature that was in the works, and there was also, as I understand it, a live action TV series that was in production.
Well, let me give you kind of
killed it.
Well, it's a little more complex than that. I mean, Captain Canuck has been optioned, if I count right, it's like 4 times. Yeah. And, option agreements to hold the rights to be able to produce mostly feature films is what the greatest interest was in. And the last company I was a company called Sinking Ship in Toronto, which is a a great company that produces a lot of children's programming. And Mind's Eye was interested. I was locked in with them for 5 years, and they wanted to make a movie. That's probably where we've had a lot of interest in that area, and right now we're in the process of deciding between 4 contenders, kind of thing, who we're going to go forward with. But that would be primarily for a TV series, and there's also animation in the works. That series, that Captain Canuck animated web series, was only 5 episodes.
Right.
A new one, the first one for the second story arc has been produced, but it's been shelved for a while. But there's a new company coming on that will be producing animated programming, and that's still kind of in its initial stages, but we expect to be in full swing by next year with work on animation. When it'll hit the airwaves, I don't know.
We've been talking for a while, and I don't want to wear you out, but I just was wondering if, well, I guess, first of all, how Lev Gleason came into the picture.
Well, that's Fatty Hakim. It was Chapter House in the beginning, and he changed his name to Lev Gleason about maybe 2 years ago. Yeah. So it was Chapter House, and it's Lev Gleason. It's a based overall company, and Comic House is the comic book publishing division. So, and Lev Gleason was a publisher way back in the late 40s, 50s.
And was it also Fatty's idea to do the bring Canuck into the Beyond universe? Yeah,
that was his idea. Yeah,
I thought that was brilliant myself.
Yeah, well, good. I mean, I said, what? But I'm fine. I'm fine with it. But
yeah, that was one of the things that I thought paralleled the original Captain Canuck, because at the end of the invasion arc with Captain Canuck, he gets sent back in time. He goes through a portal and gets sent back in time. And in this one, he goes through a portal and gets sent through space. So it's different, but similar.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very interesting way to repeat the beat.
Yeah.
I sort of accused them of ripping off, but not really.
Yeah. Okay.
And I guess this last thing is, besides, is there anything else that you want to talk about or promote or ask me or anything?
Well, I already asked you about that comic convention. Now, you're not aware of it, but I emailed them and they never got back to me. But it looked like it would have been
the one in Jersey.
We're going to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to the one in New Jersey. Never been to a guest at a comic book convention in New Jersey before.
Yeah.
I've been a guest at comic book conventions in different states. North Carolina, South Carolina, Toledo, Michigan, about 3 or 4 different ones in Michigan, which is right close to us, as you know. And,
well, if I can get to the Jersey one, I'm going to do it. I want to thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
For being part of this and doing this with me and letting me record it. Although I forgot to record part of it.
Okay. Well, we can cover that another time, maybe. But,
that's right. All right. Well, thank you very much, and have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you in New Jersey.